Hello, everybody. I'm Nina Soden, the redheaded author of the Blood Angel series, the Sector C series, and a few author guides, such as So You Want to Write a Book, Just Write, and Writing Prompts. And today I am so excited because I have A.G. Porter here with me. She is the author of the Darkness trilogy, a young adult paranormal thriller. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so the titles of these books are The Shadow, The Forsaken, and The Redeemed. She also has two poetry books that have been published, Pieces of My Heart and Pieces of My Soul. She is very busy right now working on a spin-off of her Darkness trilogy characters, as well as a new young adult paranormal series, not a book, a series.
It is a series, yeah.
Called The Sacrifice of Ava Black, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
and also another poetry book.
Yes. Always working on poetry.
Okay, and you have been a huge part of my poetry virtual reading series, so a huge thank you to that. Everybody has absolutely loved your poems.
Oh.
You can check those out here on YouTube as well as also on my blog. All right, so let's jump right in. You are definitely one of the lucky ones. You are a full-time writer and a stay-at-home mom, and tell me how amazing that feels.
It is hectic.
Okay.
It's definitely hectic, but you know, I wouldn't trade it for anything because I mean, it's just something that you once you start doing this, it's something that you aspire to do. This is what this is a goal that I had set out for myself many years ago, and now here I am. I'm killing it. Just killing it.
So, how hard is it to balance working as an author from your home with two little children at home and all that comes with being a stay-at-home mom? How do you keep that balance, and how do you find time to write?
Prior to pandemic life, they spent time with my parents or my husband's mom. So I would get me time, writing time, where I was just here all day, or if they stayed the night, all day, all night by myself writing, or I'd go to my local coffee shop that I really liked frequenting and spend time writing there. Now it's a bit different. I have to find writing time when they're napping, or when they finally go to sleep at night, or if they suddenly have found this, oh, I'm going to occupy myself playing, and I'm like, ooh, I've got a moment, I can go and write this down and take time to do that. But it is definitely it's not easy. I will tell you that right there. If there is a mom out there who has found an amazing balance with taking care of their children, making sure that they're not out there killing themselves, and they're fed and clothed, and then they've written 15 novels in 6 months, I want to know the secret. But for me, it's finding those little moments when they're sleeping or playing or something like that. That's just how I have to do it.
So do you write in chunks? Do you try to write 15 minutes at a time or an hour at a time? Or is it literally, I've got an idea, I've got to jot it down before the kids wake up?
It can be a little bit of both sometimes, because sometimes I can be so, preoccupied with what I'm doing. Writing is seriously the last thing on my mind. And then there can be those moments where I am in the middle of doing something, like maybe making lunch or making dinner, and I have I'm a journal junkie, which I know most writers are. They have, millions of journals they have laying around, and I'll just grab that real quick and write it down. Or if I have an app on my phone that lets me, jot down notes, I'll grab that really quick and jot that down so I don't forget, what came to me, especially with my poetry, because sometimes those words will come to me, and if I don't write those down when I think about them, they're gone. So I like to keep a journal nearby, or like I said, I'll grab my phone and write that stuff down, because it'll go. But if I do have those big chunks of time, then I try to take advantage of it as much as possible.
Okay. Now, you've got a lot on your plate, 3 working, projects that you're doing right now. So tell me just a little bit about each one of them and how or when you plan to publish.
So I'll start with the Darkness trilogy characters,
Okay.
because that's like the Darkness trilogy was my first baby. And when I finished the Darkness trilogy, there were a few characters that I didn't feel like their story was done. So I wanted to continue with that. Well, when I did, it was like they just, they stopped talking to me, and
Yes.
I was like, oh no, what am I going to do? So I couldn't force the characters to do things that, like, well, I said I was going to write about you guys, so you have to do this.
Right.
And so I just had to kind of put it, I kind of had to put it behind, on the kind of like on the back burner. I hate saying that, but I did, because they just stopped talking. I know that sounds weird. I think, authors are like, then my character stopped talking to me. But I mean, it's true. They just stopped telling me their story.
Yep.
So, but now they're kind of speaking to me a little bit now. So I'm like, okay, of course. Now that I've started another project, you're going to talk to me.
Isn't that how it always goes?
Yeah, that's what always goes.
My husband thinks I'm crazy when I say, no, the characters tell me what they want me to write about them. But it's true. It's true. They have their own life.
Yeah. And I knew where I was going with these 2 particular characters. And if there's any people who have read my books, it's the character Jace, which was he was a main character in the Darkness trilogy. And it's all about him and his journey, with his, with his mother. And I hated having to stop that, because I felt like it was such an interesting, mother son story. And this was even before I had my own kids.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I'm thinking, well, maybe now he's talking to me, because, I do have my
little
own
ones.
children, So, so I'm slowly working on his story. I don't know when it's going to be done, because I do have other things, going on.
But you have published one novella, correct, that kind of ties in with the series?
It does. It was in between the second and third books that kind of tied those 2 together, which focused on another main character in the story. It kind of showed, like, well, how did he, get to where he was in the last book of the series? So,
gotcha.
That's how that one went.
So, how many books are you thinking as a spinoff?
With Jace's story, and see, and it's not just his. What I want to do, to do is I'm hoping I can tell Jace's story in one book.
Okay.
And then there are at least 2 other characters that I want to tell their story in one book. So I'm hoping it's kind of like, here's this character story, and this character story, 2 other characters that have standalone stories, but they're a part of this, this world that I created. So as I've written the book, it seems to be getting a little more broader.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, calm down.
Maybe they need to stop talking just a little
bit. Maybe you need to stop talking. So
okay, so what is the next work in progress?
I have The Sacrifice of Ava Black. It started out as a Wattpad story.
Okay.
Another author friend of mine, introduced me to Wattpad. She's like, it's just, why don't you try it? It's something to, it's another writing outlet to, and to connect to readers, and, just publish like a chapter a week and, see how it goes. So I did that. And then I was like, oh no, this is evolving into something more than I had planned. I was like, oh yeah, I'll just try this. It'll just be a one, short story on Wattpad. And now it's like 25 chapters.
Wow.
It's insane. And now it's evolved into a series, because once I started it, and then I started writing the main character, Ava, I started writing her ancestors' backstories.
Yeah.
So it's just blown up into big project.
Have you gotten some good feedback on Wattpad?
I have, and I also have I have a Facebook group for people who read my books, and I've put, the first draft is done, and I've
Okay.
sent that out to my beta readers, and they've, already read it and sent it back to me, and let me know things that they liked about it, things they, they were like, well, what about this, and things like that. So that's when I started writing her ancestors story.
They wanted a little background.
Yeah, I wanted a little background, and it really helped. I think it's really going to help develop her character, because there was something, even when I sent out that first draft, I was like, should I send it out? Well, yeah, I think I should. But when it came back, when they came back to me, I was like, I know why I had that feeling of there was something missing, because and when I wrote her ancestors' backstory, I'm like, there it is. That's what's missing for her. So
when do you think this book is going to be published? The first book in this new series?
I'm hoping, fingers crossed, at the beginning of this coming year.
Oh,
I'm hoping
wow.
I'm hoping like a January, February time frame, because it's so close.
Yeah.
It's so close. Of course, I don't edit my own stuff. I have to, I have to send that out and see how that goes. I have to wait on all that stuff. But I'm like, if I can get this done and then send it out to be edited, and then maybe the beginning of this year,
Yeah. That's great.
It's one of those, wishful thinking things, but we'll see what happens.
And then the third work in progress is poetry.
Poetry. This, I had just published my second poetry book, here recently.
Pieces of My Heart.
Pieces of My Heart was just, it was around fall last year. Okay. So, and then the one before that was the year before, I want to say, or 2 years before that. So it took me, 2 years in between to, get all of my, my poems together. So I'm thinking, it'll probably be about the same time frame for my next poetry book. But, I'm always collecting poems in my my journals, and I share a lot on my Instagram. There's a great app for things like that, where you can make it look all pretty with great fonts and things of that nature. And so I share a lot of poetry on Instagram. It's such a great tool. I don't know if a lot of people realize that, or a lot of authors realize that, especially people who do like poetry or write poetry. Instagram is such a great tool for authors who enjoy those things. And even if you just share your books, your pictures of your books, or snippets of your chapters on Instagram, it's such a, it's a huge, there's a huge following on that platform for people who love books, who love reading.
It's a great marketing tool.
It is, and it's I've connected with a lot of other authors, a lot of other readers who enjoy poetry as much as I do, because a lot of people who, when you talk about that, they're like, poetry. Right. What?
Well,
and I'm like, it's still a thing.
It is still a thing, and I think it's changed and it's evolved over the years, just like any writing has. And sometimes poetry these days doesn't necessarily kind of flow the way people typically think of as poetry. So they enjoy it without knowing they're enjoying poetry sometimes, which is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
So you're a self-published author.
Yes.
Why that? Why did you choose the self-publishing process as opposed to going a traditional publishing route? Tell me a little bit about your process.
Okay. Well, when I first started, doing this, I knew nothing about self-publishing. I published my first book, I think it was 2012, and that was still like a new thing for a lot of people. And I bought this book, huge book, of a list of all these literary agents, and all this advice on how to get traditionally published. And I read it from cover to cover, and I was like, okay, I'm ready. Sat down at my computer and sent out letters upon letters. to all of these agents, and if anyone has ever been through that, it's soul crushing. And some you never hear back from, some agents you never hear back from, and some you do. And I heard back from an agent, and for months we went back and forth with emails, and she was, I guess I will say she was being helpful with things that she was suggesting for my book, and how she thinks that it could be marketed better. And then I get an email back that says, well, I'm going to have to pass. And it was heartbreaking. It was so heartbreaking. And I'm like, how could you lead me on like this?
Well, and it feels like a betrayal, I would think.
It did, especially when it's like, this months long, almost like a year long, relationship between me and this literary agent. And then for her to come back and tell me, she didn't want, she didn't see this. It's not me, it's you.
Right.
Kind of thing. So I was like, I was devastated. Yeah. And, I was like, really questioning my ability as an author.
I think we've all been there. Yeah.
Yeah. And, I talked to my husband about it. I mean, I went through like this really, bad time after that. Yeah. And, I talked to my husband about it, and he was like, you know what you can do, your abilities, this is what you want to do. So just do it. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to research how to do this myself. So I did and I knew nothing. I made so many mistakes. It was ridiculous. But then, it was a great learning experience for me, because now when people who want to become self-published are like, hey, how do you do this? I'm like, let me tell you what not to do.
Right? You have a whole list of things. A whole list of mistakes, a whole list of things that you just do not ever want to do again. Yeah, we all have those lists too.
Yeah. But that's why that's my story, and if people who, traditionally published, that's amazing. And, and I would love to do it one day. I would love to be a traditionally published author one day. But for right now, this is, for me. And I don't see myself doing that with any of my projects anytime soon. Yeah. I just want to self-publish for the foreseeable future with what I'm currently working on.
So what is the hardest part about being a self-published author? I know it's not all rainbows, butterflies, and unicorns. What is the hardest part, do you find? I know what's the hardest part for me. What is the hardest part for you?
Oh, goodness. I think I'm a terrible salesperson. I have a hard time selling myself to people. Read my book. It's so amazing because I'm amazing. Like, I'm not that I'm self-deprecating or anything. It's not that. Like, of course I have confidence in myself, or I wouldn't, put my book out there for people to read. But I'm not one of those people that says, oh, look at me, I'm so good, read this amazing book. That's probably the hardest thing for me to do. I do it, it makes me cringe a lot of times. I'm like, ugh, I'm good. Read this good book. Yeah. But yeah,
self-promotion.
Yeah, self-promotion, things like that are really hard for me.
Yeah, I can understand. I can relate to that. All right. So where can our viewers find you? How can they follow you?
Okay. I am on social media, terrible at Facebook, but I have a Facebook group. The Facebook page is it's hard to use because, Facebook algorithms, they don't want people seeing your posts. It's the whole thing. Everybody knows. Yeah. But if you are in my Facebook group, you'll see all of my posts. So it's called Amanda's Shadow Hunters because of my first trilogy. My readers they chose the name, and I love it. It's perfect. It's perfect for the group. So I will, send that to you, and we can link it.
Awesome.
I am on Instagram. I use Instagram the most. I love Instagram, and I'm under AG Porter Books.
AG Porter Books. Okay.
Yeah, and I will send that to you as well. But those are the two that I use the most. I do have an email address, but most, if people want to email me, you can. But I use Instagram the most. Like I said, it's I just enjoy that platform the most.
Awesome. Okay, so I have an acting background and was a huge fan of James Lipton's Inside the Actors Studio. So to end off our interview, we are going to go through his famous 10 questions. So without really thinking about it, go ahead and answer these questions for me.
Okay.
What is your favorite word?
Favorite word? Oh my gosh. I don't know. Oh no, I don't have a favorite word. This is terrible.
Oh God, you failed the quiz already.
I did.
What is your least favorite word?
Oh gosh, least favorite word. It's a profane word, so I can't say it.
You can say.
Like, I hate any profane word about women's bodies. Let's just say that.
We'll say
I hate when someone, I hate that. It's so.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
What turns you on?
Ooh. Like, can it be? Can it be a gesture, a word?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Like, anytime. I know this is probably like the geekiest thing ever, but like, anytime like my husband just comes up to me and like kisses my forehead, I just think that's the sweetest, like most sensual thing ever, because it's like he's not wanting anything from me. He's just like, I love you, I want to be with you. So yeah, it's the geekiest thing ever, but it's true.
I love that. Okay, what turns you off?
Oh, body odor.
Okay. What sound or noise do you love?
Okay, this is so weird. I love the sound of tires on gravel.
Okay. What sound or noise do you hate?
A fork on a plate.
Oh,
like
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. What is your favorite curse word?
I don't really curse because it's just something I've like as a choice, But when I get angry, like I say shit a lot.
Okay. What profession other than yours would you like to try?
Okay, realistically, if I could, I would love to be a teacher. Like I would at a college level.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would love to be a teacher. Like either with teens, high school, college level, I would love to do that.
And what profession would you not want to try?
Oh, anything to do with like the medical profession, nurse, doctor, like those people are my heroes. I could not do what they do. It's so gross.
Yeah. Okay, number 10. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Just, I love you, I just want to hear I love you. That's it. Like, I don't want to hear like any accusations. Oh, you did a good job. Like, I don't want it to be anything about me. Just, I love you.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for taking time to do this. I really appreciate it. And I will include your links down in the description below so that everybody can come and follow you and see your books and read your books. And I will also copy links for anybody that wants to purchase them. There will be links in the comments and the description below for each of Amanda's books.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this, Nina. Sorry I didn't have a favorite word. I'm sure I'll think about it after this.
Yeah, you'll have to text me.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody. Thank you so much.